Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to today's reading from Sri Damodar Janani, Lord Damodar's mother. We're going to be reading from chapter 7. Mother Yashoda conquers Krishna. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Rangate Girim Yat Kripatamam Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Hari Om Tat Sat. Evam Sandarshita Hiyanga Harinam Bhritya Vashyata Swa Vashenapi Krishnena Yasyedam Seshwaram Vashe. O Maharaj Parikshit, this entire universe with its great exalted demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma and Lord Indra is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet the Supreme Lord has one transcendental attribute. He comes under the control of his devotees. This was now exhibited by Krishna in this pastime. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, 9th chapter, verse 19. The supremely competent controlling potency of the Lord, the Vibhuti Shakti, continued to observe Krishna's mood. My Lord remains as stubborn as ever while he persists, thus I must continue to ensure Mother Yashoda's efforts to tie him remain insufficient, making every additional length of rope the same 2-finger width short. Krishna Satya Sankalpa Shakti commented, the queen has not been discouraged by her lack of success. Instead, she has become increasingly anxious to do so what she thinks is best for him. The Vibhuti Shakti replied, as much anxiety as a Lord's mother feels, it is not yet enough. How is that? Please explain it to me, dear lady. The 2 fingers with gap represent Krishna's, Yashoda Devi's, the Lord's special passion for her. When her anxiety reaches her fever pitch, then the special mercy, the Kripa Shakti, will descend, and at that time her power will be nullified and the rope tied. If I understand well, the Lord will submit to his mother when he sees intense fatigue or intense effort in serving him. That is, no inside nor outside he can be contained and controlled by his devotees' intense love. Yes, may we to be blessed by such ardent attachment to him. And Krishna's huff prevailed. He knew that there were many ropes in his home. After all, it was a king's palace, yet he was unwilling to submit to his mother if they brought forth. If mother succeeds in her effort, my friends will taunt me and make me the laughing stock of the village. How can I acquiesce to such a calamity? As unsuccessful as her attempts for Yashoda Devi would not give up. With great concentration and effort, she continued to tie together this. Balram, where are you? Undoubtedly, Balram's mother would have deemed Yashoda's effort excessive and she would have prevailed upon Yashoda to stop. But with Rohini absent, Mother Yashoda was relentless, so the pastime continued, a pastime unique to Krishna's descent. Only in Yashoda Devi's heart with maternal affection, and she became even more determined to correct him. While embracing Krishna, she called for more and more churning ropes and kept tying them together, one after the other. But the result was ever the same. The elderly gopis spoke among themselves. Yashoda Devi should give up this excessive conduct. It does not become a queen to beat this boy and tie him up all over a clay pot. And so they spoke. And while doing so, they laughed in amazement, and they laughed at the futility of Yashoda's determination. Although these gopis were Yashoda, these wonders, 100 hand lengths of rope failed to tie Krishna's little waist. No matter how much I try, the rope remains short by 2 fingers, not 1, not 3, not 4, but 2. Noticing Yashoda Devi's contemplation, the gopis joked good-naturedly, Yashoda is our queen, and yet she cannot even tie her own baby. Intoxicated by Krishna's influence, Yashoda smiled to hear the ladies, O queen, do you not see the supernatural forces are at work in your king's realm? Even with all the ropes in your storeroom, you fail to tie this tiny boy's waist. Jeweled anklets encompass his feet, golden bracelets surround his wrists, but silken ropes fail to encircle his belly. Listen to us, Lord Brahma has written auspiciousness on the forehead of this child, and one stanza says that he cannot be tied up. It is written on his forehead, why tying him is like tying a young elephant. The intensity of Yashoda Devi's devotion heightened her dazzling beauty, and the radiance of that beauty reflected within the sapphire mirror of Krishna's form. Although Yashoda was heated from chasing Krishna, to him her body was as cool and refreshing as the waters of the Yamuna. Unable to look at her face to face, Krishna kept his head lowered, relishing his mother's beauty and transcendental senses. To his eyes, her blackish arms appeared like glistening dark vines wet with morning dew. To his sense of touch, her loosened hair felt like the caress of a peacock fan. To his nose, her heavy breathing was a spring breeze laden with the scent of forest flowers. And to her heartbeat was a softly rolling thunder that sang the Sankirtan of his names. As soothing drops of perspiration fell from her forehead, in a gentle shower they touched his limbs and called out, "Oh boy, be kind to your mother." Finally he looked up and smiled. Yashoda was comforted by Krishna's smile, but remained indifferent to it. She knew that he would charm birds out of trees, and she was determined not to fall under the spell of his charisma. Overwhelmed by fatigue and frustration, she sat down on the motor to review her plan. This one seemed ineffective. Detecting her hesitation as a favorable sign, the gopis tried to influence her. "Oh friend, oh monarch, this boy does not want to be embarrassed in front of his friends. After all, he is the Supreme Lord. You cannot accomplish anything he is not favorable to." The gopi said in a chorus, "Therefore, give up your struggle." Lowering her head, Yashoda thought, "He may be the Supreme Lord, but he is also my son." Feeling somewhat refreshed and still confident of her strategy, she concluded, "If he is, then we will just have to collect enough rope to encircle the Supreme Lord." Casting aside his childishness, Krishna reasoned with the mind of God. "She is so determined to discipline me. Such devotional resolve must be honored and rewarded." After a moment he added, "Perhaps I should give up my stubbornness, let her have her way. That may be the wisest course of action." Gradually the lotus of Krishna's heart opened, and as it did, compassion for his mother's hard labor diffused throughout his being. Taking heed of Mother Yashoda's hard labor, the mercy potency, Kripa Shakti, made known its influence to his mother from within her heart. Krishna revealed the significance of the two missing fingers. In this way, Yashoda Devi realized the import of this elusive gap and the absolute identity of her son. Momentarily, she understood that Krishna was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and for a moment she marveled, but only for a moment. Yashoda's love for Krishna was a love of mother, and that love was much stronger than any sense of admiration for God. As quickly as knowledge of his divinity arose in her heart, that quickly it submerged in the ocean of maternal love, and as soon as it did, she once again set about trying to bind him. Krishna was awed. The rising compassion in Krishna's heart whispered, "Give yourself to her, do as she wills." Krishna was fascinated. How was this happening? "All the ropes in creation cannot bind me. How could they? My form is made of bliss, knowledge, power, and consciousness. How could anyone hope to contain me, who has no inside nor outside, who is inside and outside everything, no beginning or end, who is the beginning and end of everything? How could anyone triumph over me, of infinite power, of endless proportions?" But I feel that this Gopi queen is doing just that, and she was. The tide had turned in the battle of wills, impelled by his Kripa Shakti, the all-powerful, to earth to broadcast his unlimited qualities, especially his submission to his devotees. It was his love for his mother and her love for him that were the deciding factors in this agreeing to be bound. That reciprocity of love was so intense that it erased from his mind the purpose of his incarnation. His only remaining thought was, "I can no longer tolerate mother's distress. I must save her from further anger and frustration." Thus Krishna agreed to be bound, not because being bound was a part of an eternal pastime, but because his mother wanted it. Throughout the morning, Mother Yashoda had her insistence that Krishna was her son and that she would not relinquish the effort to bind him. Finally, between the determination of the devotee and the determination of the Lord, the determination of the devotee prevailed. In this way, Krishna abandoned his childish stubbornness, radiating from his heart the Kripa Shakti advantaging Krishna. It became possible to bind him. Meanwhile, as Mother Yashoda had been to bind Krishna, she was now equally exhausted from her exertions. Exhaustion combined with the day's experience brought her to the conclusion that Krishna could not be bound. That boy whose limbs were encircled with bangles, anklets, and could not be encircled for hours, although she had decided to stop. By the agency of Yogmaya, her hands continued their momentum, so she tied one more knot, and that was the knot which bound Krishna. That was a knot which was no longer 2 fingers short. As soon as Krishna was bound, the 100 lengths of rope, how amazing, not believing her eyes, Mother Yashoda now consciously tied together the 2 ends of the rope into a knot they held. She tightened it even more and then quickly tied one more knot. She blinked to clear her eyes. The knots were still there. Krishna was bound. The gopis let out a collection. Krishna's display of divinity was simply a magic illusion, and in the ecstasy of service to him, maternal love had made her quickly forget those wonders. So it was with binding him at the waist. No sooner that she completed the impossible task of binding, Mother Yashoda moved on to the next task at hand. She took the rope that had been tied to the mortar and connected it to the cord encircling Krishna's waist. Having thus taught him a lesson, Mother Yashoda proceeded to scold him one last time. I hope you will now learn your lesson and follow the saintly conduct of your father of the monkeys. There was that monkey insult again. The gopis and the children gradually crowded around Krishna. Some argumented Yashoda's chastisement, others offered words of consolation, and yet others stayed in silent wonder. Remembering the turmoil in her home, Yashoda Devi turned to leave, but then dressed herself. Seeing that he was dusty, she squatted beside him and cleaned his soft limbs. My dear friend of the monkeys, now that you are bound to this mortar, you will stay where you are until I clean up the chaos that you made. In the meantime, there will be no play and no toys. When I am done, then I shall come for you. He whimpered, Yes, mother. Yashoda Devi embraced Krishna and repeatedly kissed his cheeks, eyes, and forehead. You started this day off as a troublemaker, now finish it as a good boy. Turning to Subala and some other Gopas Krishna's age, Yashoda said, You boys, stay here and keep an eye on your friend. If he tries to untie himself or to inaugurate some mischief, immediately inform me. Yes, Maharani, they replied, while Yashoda again embraced and kissed. Gopi said, O prince, now that you're bound, dam around the Damodara. His friends echoed his new name, Damodara, Damodara. In his current humiliated condition, Krishna thought that name just added insult to injury. Damodara, Damodara, that is how everything left. Krishna cast aside his sad face and false tears. He assumed a composed demeanor and filled the courtyard with the moonlight of his smile. Making the best of his predicament, he boasted to his friends, Just see how I kept my mother at bay. The boys answered, It was a memorable exhibition. Now tied to the mortar, what will you do? Krishna friends and then looked down the hill to the 2 Arjuna trees worshipped by the Vrajvasis. Out loud he said, Let me think, and to himself he thought, Whatever I do, I must also deliver those trees.